In today's episode, a diver off the coast of Mexico dives into water where a massive great white shark had been recently spotted in hopes to find scallops to earn a wage. After diving into the water, he is decapitated by a massive great white shark in front of his co-workers on the boat. Hit that like button and subscribe right now. This is the terrifying great white shark attack on Manuel Lopez. Welcome to Final Affliction. What do you like to do when you go to the beach? Do you like to relax on the golden sand? Maybe you like to read a book or go paddling in the sea. Well, for some people, diving is their passion. Swimming amongst the different types of marine wildlife and exploring old wrecks that have sunk below the waves can be really exciting, but also really dangerous, as this one man found out in today's story. Manuel Lopez had lived on the coast of Mexico his entire life. He was proud of where he lived and his heritage that came with his place of birth. The 56-year-old man loved his home and wouldn't trade it for the world. However, his life wasn't necessarily an easy one. Taking advantage of where he lived, Manuel learned from an early age how to dive for the mollusks that lived on the bottom of the ocean floor. His father, who was a fisherman himself, taught Manuel just how important fishing was and how it could earn him a livelihood if it was done right. Manuel took all of his father's teachings to heart, and over the years, he practiced fishing and diving for mollusks until he was able to do both quite expertly. What he really loved was diving into the ocean in search of scallops, mussels, and all sorts of other shellfish. He found the thrill of diving down into the water exciting. He never knew what he might find or what kind of animals he might come across. Of course, as the years went by, Manuel also learned of the dangers that diving for shellfish could bring. Strong riptides could take him out to sea, where he could potentially end up getting lost. Murky waters could also bring danger, as Manuel could get lost in the silt and not know which direction to go in order to get back to safety. But the most dangerous thing of all were the predatory animals that lurked in the water: sharks. Mexico is home to a diverse range of shark species, with nearly 100 different types found in its waters. The Gulf of Mexico and the Caribbean Sea are particularly important areas for these animals, as they serve as breeding and feeding grounds for many species. There are some species of shark which live on the Mexican coast that are fairly calm and non-aggressive towards humans. These are the whale shark, the largest shark in the world, hence its name, and the nurse shark is also relatively harmless to humans, often dwelling on the bottom of the ocean in shallow waters to hunt for small fish. However, it is the more aggressive sharks that people need to worry about. Species such as the bull shark, which are actually responsible for most of the attacks in Mexico, the hammerhead sharks, and the one that many people find the scariest of all, the great white shark. Whilst common media has made them out to be more vindictive than they actually are, considering they are just animals acting on instinct, great whites are still a shark that nobody should mess with, as they are incredibly dangerous. However, sometimes circumstances push people to do things that might not necessarily be the wisest decision at the time. This is, unfortunately, what happened to Manuel. It was February 2023, coming into Mexico's springtime, and Manuel and his fellow fishermen were all busy, trying to collect as many mollusks and fish as possible so that they could sell them to local restaurants to earn a wage. However, there had been reports of quite a few sharks migrating into the waters around the coast so that they could hunt for fish and give birth to their young. Because of the number of sharks that were being reported in the area, including great whites, the fishermen, and especially the divers, were warned not to enter the ocean, as they could potentially be putting themselves at risk. For a little while, Manuel and his fellow fishermen stayed out of the ocean, as they didn't want to risk their lives. In times where people like Manuel can't work, the Mexican government gives out a stipend of 7,200 pesos, which is roughly $400 per year. However, this is not a lot to live off of, especially if the fishermen have a family to support. As the days passed by, there quickly became a shortage of seafood in the area, which meant that demand for the items were at an all-time high. Manuel found himself being drawn to the ocean to go diving for shellfish again, as he knew he could get a good price for his catch, and he needed the money to help support his family. Finally, deciding that he would rather take the risk to try and get a bit more money, Manuel put on his diving suit, a full gray suit, and went diving near San Jose Beach in Tabare Bay. He didn't have any diving equipment, preferring to hold his breath as he dived down to a depth of around 59 feet so that he could collect axe tripe, a mollusk which is like a scallop, from the ocean floor. It was a shellfish which Manuel had collected multiple times before, and he knew where to look to get the best fish. Despite the dangers, things were going well for Manuel for a little while. The diver was collecting the shellfish at quite a fast rate, and he was looking forward to the large amount of money he would hopefully be getting after he had sold all of his catch. Jose Bernal was another fisherman who was out with Manuel at the time. He was diving into the water from the boat that they had brought along and was collecting the mollusks as well. He had decided to get out of the water for a little while so that he could rest. However, Manuel felt that he was finding quite a lot of axe tripe, and he didn't want to lose the spot where he was finding all of the shellfish. It was whilst Manuel was diving to the ocean floor, though, that something happened that no one could have expected. As he was relaxing on the boat, Jose noticed an odd shape in the water. At first, the fisherman couldn't make out what the shape was, but as it got closer, Jose quickly felt panic taking a hold of him. He knew that the massive shape, which looked to be around 19 feet long, could only possibly be one thing: a shark. After coming to this conclusion, Jose's terror increased tenfold. He had no clue how he was supposed to alert Manuel to the danger, as he was still underwater, and Jose did not want to get back into the water with the dangerous shark nearby. The fisherman could only hope that Manuel wouldn't attract the shark's attention, and that it would simply swim on by. But that wasn't the case. Manuel, not having a clue what was happening or what was coming close to him, was quickly running out of air. Deciding that he needed to go back to the surface for air, Manuel began swimming up, taking his haul with him. However, in just one moment, everything changed for the worse. In one moment, Manuel was swimming happily, and then in the next moment, the massive great white shark came swimming out of the murky water, bursting through the water at 35 miles per hour, and in just one bite, the shark separated Manuel's head and part of his shoulders from his body. Jose had witnessed the entire event, and he could not believe what he had just seen. There was nothing that he could do for Manuel, as he was most certainly not alive anymore. With nothing else to do, Jose returned to the mainland, where he informed the proper authorities about what had happened. But why did the shark go after Manuel? Well, whilst great whites do attack up to 5 to 10 humans every year, they usually only take an experimental bite before moving on, as they are not actually that interested in hunting people. Instead, the great white's usual prey consists of seals, sea lions, dolphins, and turtles. However, every now and then they can get confused due to how people look in the water when they are swimming. Thinking that it was a source of food, the shark will attack the person, which could lead to some very serious injuries, or, in the worst case scenario, a fatality. This is sadly the most likely thing that happened to Manuel. The fisherman was most likely just unlucky to be in the water at the same time as the massive shark was swimming nearby. And whilst it wasn't necessarily anybody's fault what had happened to Manuel, it is important to remember that the ocean is the home of animals like sharks, and that it is always better to play it safe than to risk a life to dive into the ocean when these incredible creatures are nearby. Sadly, all that could be done for Manuel after the incident was to try and collect the body from the water, and then, once that was done, bury him in a proper grave. Fishermen spotted a shark off the coast of the western Mexico coastal town of Paredon, Colorado, 2 weeks after Manuel Lopez was attacked and killed by a shark while fishing for mollusks. This shark is thought to be the one responsible for decapitating Manuel. It has been spotted several times since the fatal attack, and authorities have been unable to kill it. This massive man-eating shark is still on the loose in the waters around Mexico, waiting to bring another innocent diver like Manuel Lopez to their terrifying final affliction.